Hi everyone and welcome to Sandling. Today is all about the engine shed and James's second visit to install it and a little bit more about the hill over there. So join me now, let's see how we get on. Hi everyone and welcome back to Sandling. As I said just now, the main thrust of this video is all about this beautiful new engine shed that James from Bexhill West has actually made for Sandling Junction. It is awesome, but it's also about his visit and all our little trials and tribulations of trying to put this into place and get it set up so I can then continue its building and development over the next few months. And at the same time, a little bit more about the hill over there, that there's been some progress on it. Not as much as I'd like, but there has been progress. I'll bring you up to speed with that too. If there's any time at the end I want to do a little bit of running, and that just depends on how much of this I keep doing during the course of this video. And yeah, so but before I go on into that video, let me just take this opportunity to really thank all my subscribers, old and new. Guys and girls, thank you so much for the support you give Sandling Junction as a channel. It really does mean a lot to me. It helps me grow my audience and I really do appreciate that. And if you are watching this video and you're not a subscriber, consider subscribing. It really doesn't cost you anything to do that at all. Nothing. And it really does help me. But at the same time, click the bell icon and that tells you when I upload a new video. Give it the good old thumbs up if you've enjoyed the content. And moreover, if you've got comments to make about this or any other aspects of the videos that I put out, put them in the comments. I'll always answer them. I love reading them. I love interacting. And the nice thing about those who comment, especially those who comment regularly, is that they're becoming more friends. And I really like that aspect of this whole environment of YouTube, content creating and sharing what I'm doing here at Sandling and the relationships you build with people out there in the modelling fraternity, as it were. So that's really great and I enjoy that aspect of the whole thing that I'm doing. So anyway, before I do gas on and make this a very long video, let's crack on, let's get into it and let's just see what happened when James came and helped me fit this wonderful unit into place about a week or so back. Catch you all soon, stay safe, happily modelling, talk to you all soon, bye bye. Hi everybody, welcome back to Sandling, and the day that I've been waiting for has finally arrived and James has come all the way back from Bexhill to visit Sandling and present this to me. It's absolutely stunning. James.
Well, thanks for having me, Paul. We've just been having a nice chat about everything except doing what we've come here for. So in a moment we'll try and get this set up and see what Paul thinks of it.
It's going to be, it's so exciting and I can't wait to have this on the layout. And as you can see, we're doing the social distancing bit. We've got our masks on, we're doing everything as we should do. And yeah, so I'll keep popping back in, we'll keep adding to this video and hopefully by the end of it we'll have the shed installed and you can see what's been going on. All the best guys, catch you all soon. You can see I'm just a helpful onlooker as we make some preparatory holes for slotting all the electrics underneath this. So I'm doing the narrating bit while all the heavy work is being done by James.
So I think that's sort of where we were at. That's the other line I made now. Well, we can always open up. We can always go bigger, can't we?
Yeah, sure. I think that was your line corner there.
I think it's wider than the pits. Yeah, it's definitely a bit wider. I think it's probably about here. So let's.
What I might have to do afterwards is just put another brace through there, just to make sure.
As long as if it falls down after I've gone, it won't matter, will it?
No, because didn't you say the guarantee runs out at the end of the road?
The guarantee's already run out.
Ah, okay, there you go. I do like these masks, but I can't see a thing through my glasses. Should we, I suppose, glue these in? I don't know.
I didn't want to glue them in because I didn't know what you wanted to do painting wise.
Yeah, there's a lot of flecks under here where we've taken that centre out. Hi everybody, a little interruption before we conclude this section, and that is to explain why this is vastly different to when we started the video and James came along and we started messing around with it. The thing is that over time I've extended this 2 or 3 times, and each time it needs new supports and different bits and pieces, and it had several joints in it, of course. Now that worked very well for what I had, and it actually worked out in principle for this shed, but when it started coming to cutting it out to set it in place, it became quite evident that certain parts of it really didn't look that good, and it got very, very close to the outside on this corner of the shed too. And James made a remark during the course of trying to do this that it really would be lovely to have this on its own environment, and so that we can take it off and work on it and what have you, or indeed I can, if I move, I can take this whole section with me and put it into a new setup somewhere else down the road. And in fact that's not bad, because Graham Falston from Lakeside did very much the same thing with his manor house. It's been in a couple of different layouts, and he's moved it into a couple of different places within the existing layout. And so having this sort of mini diorama in itself that it's a standalone is not a bad idea, and it'll only take 2 or 3 screws on each side and one at the front here to take out, lift up and move the whole thing. So that's when James went, I looked at it and I thought, he's absolutely right. So depending whether I put this in at the beginning or at the end, you'll have either would have seen or are about to see the little time-lapse clip that I did where I just stripped everything out from here and replaced it with a new piece of timber, cut out the slots so the imprint was here ready for this to slot into and be totally supported. And I then put some cork down ready to replace the rail, and get that done, and then I can carry on with this. So yeah, that's what it was all about. That's why it's different, and it suitably brings this whole little clip or sequence of the film to an end. And so maybe I ought to get on with some running now. You get on with your lives. But I just wanted to let you know why it looked different and what happened. So it was a valiant attempt from James, more James than me, to make it work in what we had. But his comment really did work out to the best. And so when he went, as I say, I stripped it out and started over. So. So yeah, I think it works very well because of that too. We've actually given it a little bit more length. There is certainly another 8 to 10 inches of track up here that allow the trains to come in. I can stand them in front, whereas the old unit was going to sit around here or somewhere like this. It really has now got certainly another 12 to 14 inches, I think, overall, because I was able to take it back down. There's a much better gap coming around the side here. It was really tight on the side here to get locos down past the engine shed where I was going to put it. It would have worked, but it was very awkward. So by doing that, I've allowed more room, and I can take locomotives all the way down here. I can have a variety of different things, from diesel, fuel, cleaning, different things that can actually be set up down the side of this shed, which could quite possibly have been. Locos can come on, come down, come out again, and be put back in the shed, or whatever they need to be done. Okay everybody, welcome back. I'm back on the hill, and I am trying 1, 2, 3 different methods of getting rid of this. It's a great way of protecting your hill over the polystyrene, of course, or over the other materials you may use at the base. So you're going to use this plaster bandage, which is well tried and trusted. Now what I wanted to do is try a method that James suggested to me, to about here, then some standard plaster, and then some of the plaster which is called Sculptor Mold. And I will try all 3 methods here. It doesn't matter if I go back over them later with a preferred version, but I want to try each and every one. I quite like the idea of this one that James suggested to me, which is using an acrylic decorator's cork. This one's Evo Stick. It's about 180 a tube. You can get it from most places and deliver it on there, smear it around, and the idea is to give a natural look and get rid of all of these holes and the webbing. Now in part this is doing it, but it's not quite good in terms of absolute. It's not bad, but it's not absolute. So I'm going to try some standard plaster of Paris here to see what happens with that, and then I'm going to come over here with some of the sculptor mold and see how that works. And once it's dried, once I've sorted it out, I can then continue over the whole of the hill surface with my preferred method. I did have a little thought just to immerse small pieces of this tissue paper best I can, soak it up and just lay that over some of this area down here, and I think that might well work in terms of giving me almost like a bit of papier-mâché in a sense. I really am not helping that rail. I think this rail will end up being a siding somewhere, this poor piece. Oh, that's awful. Right, well that will probably clean up. I'll take it off. I shouldn't have left it there, to be quite honest. It's my own fault. But never mind, we learn from our silly mistakes. Now I don't know how this will work. It may just get too brittle. It may work beautifully, but I thought it was a good way of just using up some of this plaster that I've pre-mixed and just let it set off, go hard. Okay, so I've cleaned up a little bit, not an awful lot, gotta say, and I'm going to put in the sculptor mold. Now I'm just going to pour some out of the bag. And this is plaster of Paris, of course, under some sort of formula that they make, and it's full of almost like a reinforcing in paper. I'm not making this too wet, so I'm mixing it all up, as you can see, to a nice workable consistency, and if I need more water I can do, but we shall see how this works over this final area. And it may be that I add some over to some of this further on. Now this is okay, it's a little lumpier, but then we know that of sculptor mold it does have this lumpier appearance because of course it's got all those fibres in it. Now I have got three very different surfaces here, and I think that, yeah, they're all working to a point, and they are all working. I favour putting some sculptor mould over this, if I'm honest, so that I get a similar look. I am leaning towards the sculptor mould, to be quite honest with you. And so I'm just going to put some over this surface before it totally dries out, and gives me a bit of a mimic of what's happened here. And I'm not sure about this section yet, but we will see. The only reason I'm doing this is to get some of those little lumps that you're seeing in the surface over here into this area too, so that there is some form of continuity between the two areas. Okay, so what's done has been done. Now then, I did decide, I did the three as I spoke to you, and I shall show you each of them in a moment, but I then decided that I wanted to, well, as I was doing them, I realized I felt that the sculptor mold just had the edge on getting rid of all the sort of weave, and it is heavier. And it will be heavy. I've got to cut along that line once it's dry, but hopefully I made the right decision. And okay, so we're back at the hill, and you saw how I progressed it to this point. Well, you actually haven't seen this part. I didn't see the point in subjecting you to further misery by watching me paint the darn thing brown. That seemed a little bit crazy. So what I did here is I just used slightly watered down, not too watered down, but slightly watered down mix of the basics range of pigments, acrylic colours that you can buy in tubes. They're about £3.50 a tube. And this is just the raw umber. It's the slightly yellowish of the umbers. The red umber, the dark umber is the burnt umber, which is, as I say, raw or burnt, and that's what happens to most of those colours. When they are burnt out, then the colour changes quite significantly from a yellowish to a reddish. But this is, as I say, this is the raw umber, the yellowish of the two, and to me it looks more earth-like. Now I have gone over, and you saw that I did several different ways of creating the landscape here. I preferred up here and here with the sculptor mould. That was, in my opinion, better. But this was quite interesting here as well, because I used a lot of plaster in paper towel, kitchen roll, and it sort of wet that up, and it's almost like a bit of sculpture mold in certain ways. So it's really rock hard, and some of this is over some paper, so it was good, and you know, it is, yeah, it's pretty solid. But anyway, it's accepted the painting very, very well, and it's gone light and dark in places, and that's fantastic, because I can actually start putting some other colours on now to create the ideas of rocks and boulders. I actually put a few stones in some of the sculptor mold up by the creek on the hill. And here, this is going to be quite interesting, I hope. I have a word with my friend who created it, but in Folkestone, above Folkestone, on the cliffs above Folkestone, there is the Kentish emblem of the white horse. Now, a good artist friend of mine was the person behind that. He created design, and he worked with the project all the way through to its conclusion. So I need to have a word with him to make sure there are no copyright issues in doing it, because obviously if I put it on my layout, it's going to feature in videos, and I don't want any future problems from anybody. And I think that the only persons that may have a problem with it are Shetway District Council, who actually use it as their emblem. And so I just need to see the lie of the land. But it would be nice just to have a little representation on here of the chalk horse that's actually above Folkestone, and I think that would work very, very well. So with that said and done, there's not a lot else to tell you. You saw in the last video that I had built the big tables in the center here, and I had put some track on there just to give a certain look to it, to see what it was going to be. It was going to be based, or at the moment still is going to be based, on Dover Marine, because there's a lot more shunting there. But I also keep going back to the idea of it being Folkestone Harbour, which is the natural extension from Sandgate, which is the terminus, and had the powers that be in the early days not stopped it or blocked it, there would have been a run from Sandling Junction all the way down through Hythe here, round to Seabrook or Sandgate, and it would have gone on to Folkestone and also to Folkestone Harbour. It never happened, but I like to think that my layout sort of pays homage to the fact that it might have done. So there's a big part of me trying to reconcile the fact that, do I cut Folkestone out and jump all the way along the coastline to Dover and cut a large section of stuff out, or do I try and make Folkestone work for me? And there are some really nice aspects to Folkestone which Dover Marine hasn't got. Dover's just Admiralty Pier pretty much, and got a lot of stuff on it, a lot of track. It is a nest of track. And I talked to a good friend of mine who sort of knew it very, very well many years ago, and said that, you know, they walked out, they used to go out on fishing, but it was absolutely a minefield of track. It's track everywhere. And Folkestone's a big different. It was predominantly continental boat train traffic, and across the viaduct up the steep hill to the junctions. Well, I can't create the steep hill, but I do have the means to raise the table and put the viaduct and therefore the harbour into the top end of it, and have some shunting in the second half. I suppose it depends on how much shunting I really want to do and make it all work at the end of the day. So I'm still thinking, I'm still working on the ideas, not quite sure where I want to go with that. But I'm not in a rush either. It doesn't matter when I decide. I can play around with it and finally make a decision way down the road. I've got so much here to do before I even get to thinking about that. So yeah, anyway, I am going to let you get on. I'm going to put a little bit of running on now and conclude this video before it ends up at 3 or 4 hours long. As I said earlier, happy modelling and stay safe everybody. Good to chat, and catch you all in the next video.